you'd always be there. So when she pulled away, she didn't worry. She assumed you'd chase, that you'd explain, that you'd wait. But you didn't. You stepped back. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You stopped proving and started living. And that's when it hit her. Your silence was louder than her expectations. Now she's back, reaching out, testing the waters.
But why?
Today we're breaking down the real reason the woman you love walks away and why she often comes back. It's not just about emotions. It's about timing, detachment, and the quiet power of a man who knows his worth. Let's get into it. Number 1. Stop being too available when your time is always accessible. It loses value. Start reclaiming your time, not out of spite, but out of respect for your own energy. A Stoic man doesn't rush to prove his worth. He lets silence speak and space do the work. Because when you're constantly available, you unconsciously teach others to expect you on demand, without effort. And the truth is, what's always within reach rarely gets appreciated.
Think about it.
How often have you answered that late-night text right away, even when it interrupted your peace? Or said yes to plans that didn't serve you, just to avoid seeming distant? That's not kindness. It's self-neglect in disguise. You don't need to become cold or distant, but you do need to become selective. Your attention is a gift, not a guarantee. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you seek tranquility, do less." Or more accurately, do what's essential. When you're always available, you're constantly reacting. But when you create space, you begin to act from intention, not impulse. People start to feel your absence. They begin to question your silence, not because you're playing games, but because you've stopped giving yourself away so freely. That mystery, that shift in rhythm, it creates gravity. It reminds others that your presence is earned, not expected. So next time you feel the urge to respond instantly, to always say yes, pause. Ask yourself, is this truly aligned with the man I'm becoming? Or am I just trying to be liked? Remember, your worth isn't proven by availability. It's shown by how well you guard your time, your peace, and your purpose. You don't need to disappear. You just need to stop showing up when it costs you more than it's worth. Let them feel the shift. Let them miss the version of you they once took for granted. Because the man who respects his time teaches others to do the same. That shift in how you show up calm, measured, and no longer on call isn't just about boundaries. It's a message. It says, my energy is sacred, and not everyone gets access to it anymore. And that's where your power quietly builds. When you stop rushing to be available, you stop bleeding value. You begin to hold space for the right people to rise to your level. So, I want to hear from you. Have you ever noticed how stepping back made others step up? Or just drop this in the comments. My attention is earned, not assumed. Let's keep moving because the next point is where your silence begins to speak volumes. Number 2. Choose purpose over pleasing. When you constantly try to keep her happy, you slowly lose yourself. And here's the thing most men don't realize until it's too late. The more you bend to please, the more invisible you become. Because in the process of chasing her approval, you stop being the man who had a vision, a backbone, a direction. And you become someone reacting, not leading. Redirect that energy into your goals, into building something that excites you, into becoming the man you used to admire when you were still dreaming big. A man on a mission doesn't need constant reassurance. He doesn't ask, am I doing enough for her? He asks, am I staying true to what I said I'd become? That's the kind of presence that naturally commands attention, not through begging or overgiving, but through certainty. Let her witness a man so focused on his mission that he doesn't need applause to keep going. That unshakable direction, it's magnetic.
Why?
Because it reminds her that your world doesn't revolve around her mood. That you're not chasing validation, you're building a legacy. And when a man builds with purpose, the right woman won't feel neglected. She'll feel inspired. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's your challenge, not to be perfect, not to be liked all the time, but to be purposeful. Let her see you make decisions that align with your values, not her temporary emotions. Let her feel the subtle shift when you start leading with conviction, not compromise. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about being centered. When you choose purpose over pleasing, you don't abandon love. You elevate it. You bring clarity to your actions and strength to your presence. And strangely enough, it's in that quiet confidence, that refusal to dance for approval, that she begins to feel something deeper: respect, curiosity, and yes, even desire. Number 3, let mystery return. You don't have to explain everything. Let her wonder where you are, what you're thinking, how you feel. Mystery breeds curiosity, and curiosity is the soil where desire grows. A Stoic never reveals more than necessary. He lets his presence speak louder than explanations. We live in a world obsessed with oversharing. Everyone wants instant clarity, constant updates, endless access. But when you're always available, when you're always expressing, explaining, justifying, you lose that edge. You stop being intriguing and start being predictable. And predictability doesn't fan the flame of desire, it snuffs it out. Now, I'm not saying play games or be deceptive. That's not what this is about. It's about intentional restraint. It's about knowing that not every thought deserves to be spoken. Not every move needs to be announced. When you pull back just a little, you create space. And in that space, her mind starts to wander. Why hasn't he called yet? What's he been up to lately? Is he still thinking about me? That mental tension is what keeps the emotional connection alive. Be the man whose silence has weight. Be the man whose mystery makes her lean in instead of pull away. Because when you don't give everything away, when you protect your inner world from being too exposed, you remain unpredictable. And unpredictability, when grounded in self-respect, is magnetic. Let her miss pieces of you. Let her feel the silence and fill in the blanks. That's where longing is born. And in a world full of men shouting for attention, the quiet one, the one who doesn't rush to be understood, becomes unforgettable. So don't fear being a little unknown. Let her feel the mystery. Let her come closer, not because you chased her, but because she had to figure you out. Number 4, stop explaining yourself. A man rooted in self-respect doesn't over-explain. If she questions your silence, your pace, your shift, let her sit with it. The more you try to justify, the more you lose gravity. Stillness, when backed by calm confidence, says everything. You're not here to be decoded like a puzzle or to defend every choice you make. That energy, explaining, justifying, over-communicating, only drains your power. You don't owe everyone access to your internal world. Not every silence needs to be filled. Not every move needs a caption. Think of Marcus Aurelius. He didn't walk through the world begging to be understood. He moved with clarity, even when others misunderstood him. That's what you're aiming for. Not cold detachment. Quiet certainty. There's strength in a man who can make a decision, hold a boundary, or take space, and not follow it up with an essay. Say you don't reply to a message right away. She starts wondering. Is he mad? Is he losing interest? Let her wonder. That discomfort she feels? It's not your responsibility to soothe it unless you truly want to. And if your actions come from a place of integrity, not manipulation, then stand by them, without needing a speech to validate your position. You'll know you're growing when your peace is no longer shaken by someone's need for explanation. You stop rushing to be understood and start standing firm in who you are. The Stoic doesn't seek validation through words. He earns respect through presence. Let that be your quiet message. Let your energy speak before your mouth ever does. And this is where real power begins, not in how loud you speak, but in how solid you stand. When you stop explaining yourself, you invite others to observe, to interpret, to reflect, but not to define you. That space you leave, it speaks louder than any paragraph you could write. So ask yourself, are you living to be understood, or living in truth? I'd love to hear how this idea sits with you. Drop your thoughts in the comments, or just write this one line if it hit home. My presence doesn't need a paragraph. Number 5, elevate, don't chase. Improve your mind, body, and discipline, not for her, but for you. And when she sees your glow rising without her validation, that's when the fear creeps in. A Stoic man upgrades quietly. He doesn't announce it. He becomes it. See, the moment you shift from chasing her to chasing your potential, everything changes. Your energy stops being scattered and starts being focused. You're no longer looking for external approval to feel like you matter. You're building yourself in silence. You're moving different. You're walking with purpose. And she feels that, especially if she once knew a version of you that depended on her attention to feel seen. This isn't about revenge. It's about elevation. It's about choosing the harder road, the one filled with early mornings, long workouts, books instead of distractions, peace instead of pointless drama. It's about crafting a life so solid that you don't need to explain anything. You simply exist at a higher level and let your presence speak. The Stoics had a word for this kind of transformation, living with excellence. Not to impress, but because it is your nature to rise. Marcus Aurelius didn't sit around trying to convince people he was evolving. He said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be.
Be one."
That's what this is. You stop messaging her. You stop checking her stories. You stop bending just to be noticed. Instead, you start sculpting a man so focused, so grounded, that she starts wondering if she ever really knew you. And that's powerful. You elevate not for her return, but for your rise. And ironically, that's what makes her feel the loss. Because when you stop chasing and start ascending, she starts realizing, you were never below her.
You were just distracted.
Wonder. Let her feel the shift. Let her sit in the silence of your absence while you build in the silence of your becoming. Number 6, respond slower. Speak less. Immediate replies and long paragraphs, they scream neediness.
Slow down.
Reply with clarity, not emotion. The one who controls the rhythm of the conversation often controls the power in the relationship. Be intentional.
Be calm. Be rare.
You don't have to rush to answer her message. You don't need to explain your every move. In fact, the more urgency you show, the more it communicates that your peace depends on her response. That's not strength. That's emotional outsourcing. A man who is rooted in himself, who values his energy and his words, responds when he's ready, not when he's anxious. Think about it. When you slow down your responses, you also slow down your thoughts. That's when clarity begins to speak louder than impulse. A Stoic would remind you, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. So why rush into a reply filled with overthinking or anxiety? Why pour out energy in long explanations just to be understood? Let her wonder why you took your time. Let her feel the space. Because in that space, desire builds. Curiosity grows. And your calm silence does more than any paragraph could ever say. You don't need to fill the silence. Sometimes, the silence is the statement. When a man doesn't rush, he sends a message. I am not at the mercy of your timing. That's not arrogance. That's discipline. Respond slower. Speak less. Because every word from a composed man carries more weight than 1,000 spoken in panic. Number 7. Pull back without drama. Disengage without warning. Without bitterness. Just go silent. Not as punishment, but as proof that your peace matters more than attention. Like Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be.
Be one.
There comes a moment when words lose their value, when explanations start to sound like pleading, and your presence becomes too easily taken for granted. That's when you pull back. Not with drama, not with emotional speeches, but with quiet strength. You don't storm out. You don't announce your exit. You just stop feeding what no longer feeds you. That's the essence of Stoic detachment. Removing yourself not because you're cold, but because you've reached clarity. A clarity that whispers, I don't need to be understood to be at peace. Think about it. How many times have you tried to fix things with words, only to feel unheard or misread? A man aligned with discipline and purpose knows when to step back and let silence speak on his behalf. He's not running from conflict. He's rising above chaos. She may expect noise, reaction, or even one last plea. But instead, All she gets is space. And that space, it echoes louder than any argument. You don't owe a performance. You owe yourself inner stillness, like a stoic warrior walking off the battlefield, not defeated, but uninterested in swinging swords for the sake of being seen. You no longer fight to prove your worth. You embody it, quietly, fully, without needing applause. That's how you pull back without drama. That's how you remind her, and more importantly, yourself, what calm power truly looks like. Now I want you to really sit with this idea. Reflect on moments in your life where silence would have served you better than speaking. Have you ever pulled back, not to hurt, not to manipulate, but simply to protect your peace? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, or just leave this in the thread. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. I'm curious, what stood out most to you about this mindset? Number 8, let her earn back your energy. Stop giving without balance. If she pulls away, don't chase, observe. Let her feel the absence of your attention and make her work to earn it back. A stoic man never begs. He offers, but only to those who value what he gives. And that's the difference between self-respect and desperation. C. A man who knows his worth doesn't rush to reclaim someone who chose to drift. He creates space, not to punish her, but to protect the energy he used to give so freely. Too often, we pour into someone hoping they'll realize our value. But the truth is, people value what they have to earn, not what they're constantly given. When she starts feeling the emptiness you left behind, when your good mornings stop coming in, when your emotional support is no longer guaranteed, that's when the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, your silence becomes louder than any message you could have sent. You don't need to explain why you've pulled back.
You don't need to announce it.
Like Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In this case, the best response to emotional inconsistency isn't to mirror it with desperation. It's to withdraw with calm, quiet dignity. Let her wonder. Let her sit with the consequences of your absence. If she values you, she'll start to notice the effort you once gave. And if she doesn't, then you've just saved yourself from continuing to invest in someone who is never meant to hold that space. Let her come forward. Let her ask. Let her rebuild the bridge she let fall. Because your energy isn't free. It's earned. Number 9. Reinvent yourself in silence. Use this time to evolve, mentally, emotionally, physically. Let her return to a version of you she never expected. That quiet transformation, that's the storm she won't see coming. Stoicism isn't about freezing. It's about refining. And here's the truth most people miss. Growth doesn't need an audience. In fact, it thrives in solitude. While others rush to prove they're doing better, you disappear, not to escape, but to sharpen. Your silence isn't distance. It's discipline. You're not just going to the gym, you're building consistency. You're not just reading books, you're rewiring your mind. You're not texting her back instantly, not because you're bitter, but because your focus is no longer scattered. It's aligned. No need for long explanations. No need to show your progress in real time. Let her wonder. Let her ask herself, what changed? That's when silence turns into impact. Imagine, the next time she sees you, your energy is different. You're calmer, more focused. You're not trying to win her back. You've already won something more valuable, yourself. And that version of you? That's the version she never thought she'd lose. So stay quiet, stay sharp. And when the world sees you again, let your evolution speak louder than any message you could have sent. Number 10. Embrace detachment without coldness. You don't need to be rude or distant to create space. Just stop investing emotionally in what doesn't give back. The man who walks with dignity, even while letting go, is unforgettable. He's calm, composed, and in control. That's not coldness, it's clarity. You're not withdrawing out of bitterness. You're detaching out of self-respect. There's a quiet difference between emotional absence and emotional maturity. The first shuts down. The second steps back, with grace. A woman can feel that. She'll notice when you're no longer emotionally tethered to her mood swings or approval. And that shift, It doesn't come with an announcement. It comes with your silence, your steadiness, your decision to prioritize peace over confusion. Imagine this. She tries to provoke a reaction, maybe through distance, maybe through mixed signals.
But you don't react.
You respond, if at all. And your response isn't dramatic. It's measured. Because a man grounded in Stoicism understands, control begins with the self, not with others. As Epictetus said, we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. When you stop judging her choices as personal attacks, you free yourself. That's how you embrace detachment without turning cold. You're still warm, still kind, still present, but not needy. You hold space for someone to meet you halfway, not because you're playing games, but because you've learned your energy is sacred. Your peace is earned, not sacrificed for temporary validation. So if she drifts, let her. If she comes back, let her prove she belongs. But either way, you remain centered. And that version of you? That's the version she won't forget. When you master the art of detachment without coldness, you unlock a rare kind of strength. One that doesn't chase, doesn't plead, and doesn't need to prove itself. It's not about shutting down. It's about rising above the emotional noise. This isn't easy, but it is necessary. Think about the moments you've given too much, hoping for just a little in return. Were you met with the same energy? Or did it leave you drained? A man who can pull back with grace, not resentment, is a man who commands respect. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever detached without turning cold? What did that look like for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments, or simply write, "My peace is not up for negotiation." Mind do the chasing. Uncertainty is a powerful mirror. And the more grounded you stay while she spirals, the more she realizes your worth. See, when something is constantly available, it fades into the background. It becomes normal, expected, even invisible. But the moment you stop showing up like clockwork, the moment your energy pulls back without anger or explanation, that's when the silence starts to echo. Suddenly, she's not sure if you're still hers. She's not sure what you're thinking or who you're becoming. And that quiet confusion? That's where desire is reborn. You don't need to announce your absence. You just need to be intentional with it. Instead of proving yourself over and over, live like a man who knows his value. Work on yourself.
Protect your time.
Move with calm precision. That's what Stoicism teaches. Don't chase validation. Become so complete within yourself that others begin to question their choices in your absence. Picture this. Before, she didn't notice the small things. The check-ins, the support, the presence.
But now?
Now she starts to notice the absence of it all. That good morning text you stopped sending. That emotional support she could always rely on. That unspoken bond. She thought it would always be there, but now it's not. And that shift, that's what wakes her up. Don't pull away with bitterness. Pull away with peace. That calm detachment, that quiet focus, it hits different. And while she wrestles with the loss of what she once dismissed, you stand firm. Not waiting, not hoping, just living. That's how a man makes her question everything she once took for granted. By not needing her to realize it, but by giving her space to feel it on her own. Like Epictetus said, "He who is not mastered by circumstance masters himself." So stop being the predictable constant. Be the one who's missed, not the one who's clinging. That's how you reclaim your power and let her confront the value she overlooked. When a woman feels like she could lose you at any moment, not because of cruelty, but because of your self-worth, everything shifts. This isn't about making her suffer. It's about reclaiming your value. Because a man who walks with discipline, emotional control, and silent power doesn't have to prove himself. His presence is the proof. And his absence? That's the echo she won't be able to silence. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Or just type, "I choose purpose over chasing." And make sure to check out the recommended videos on screen. They'll take you even deeper into how to rebuild yourself, raise your value, and live with the kind of power she never expected you to unlock.